pleasure to be here. I'll try to stick with the, I'm very afraid of the stickers here. Okay, so I'll be presenting a little bit about the World Bank support to the EITI. I'll be pretty fast at the beginning of the presentation because it overlaps quite a bit with other speakers before me. Just about what is EITI, I think you now have a very good idea. I'll just emphasize that it's both a global and a local initiative. A global one in the sense that it's a standard that is set by a coalition of government, companies, and civil society worldwide. But it's also a local initiative in the sense that that standard needs to be customized in the local setting. And that's why we insist so much about this MSG you've heard about already. So that's, again, on the benefits, you've heard about it. I'll just emphasize the benefit of dialogue, because I think in the... Okay, I'll need to speak up. All right. So we believe that extractive industries can better contribute to the economy. I think that's the idea, especially if there's a increased transparency. So, but that needs to happen in some venue, and EITI provides that sort of platform. That's the philosophy behind it. Global progress, you've seen that slide before as well. I'll just say that there's a renewed momentum in the region. Maybe you've heard about Trinidad and Tobago EITI already, which is kind of pioneering in the region. We have a delegate from there that will speak later. Dominican Republic was received as a candidate lately in February. And your neighbors from Guyana are also considering the application this year. So we're very happy to see that. How it works, I think, again, I'll just mention or insist on the fact that usually the main tool of the EITI or the main output is this report, which is usually published on an annual basis. And the core idea was always that producing companies would disclose the payments to the government would disclose the receipts or the revenues that they receive from the companies, and then all this would be reconciled by an independent administrator, and the whole process being managed by an MSG. So this is the core idea, but of course it has also evolved a little bit. Now the EITI brand has also expanded a little bit. So beyond the pure revenue dimension, there are also other information that are now usually embraced in the scope of an EITI report, and that was mentioned already before by Mr. Director, but that can touch on the transparency over licensing or over the affectation or allocation of those revenues, etc. So there's a whole set of issues across the value chain of mineral resources that can be dealt with in the EITI, and again, that depends on the national priorities, and that will have to be decided commonly in all the decisions that the MSG needs to make. So coming to the World Bank Group and where we come into this picture, so for those who don't know the World Bank Group, just in a couple of words, we are a multilateral institution that whose mission is to fight against poverty. We are a group of institutions, actually, so there are mainly two groups, one whose main clients are the governments and one whose main clients are companies. I am from the policy group, so meaning IBRD and IDA. So we deal mainly with government. We have sister organizations like the IFC, who some of you might know as well. But we all share that mission to facilitate sustainable development and fight against poverty worldwide. So inside the World Bank policy group, we have a global practice on extractive industries where I sit in Washington. And essentially we provide finance or technical assistance or knowledge products to help better management of extractive industry. We believe that if well-managed, extractive industries have huge potential to drive economic growth and contribute to sustainable development. But as was mentioned as well, if not well-managed, can also be a major contributor to conflict, corruption, or economic losses. So that has been summarized in this resource-cursed notion that you've heard about. So, more specifically, in EITI, we're not defining the EITI standard. I think you've understood that the norm itself is defined by this coalition worldwide, and has a secretariat that sits in Oslo. But we, World Bank, we manage a trust fund that was set up by a variety of donors to facilitate or to assist countries who are implementing the initiative. So between 2005 and 2015, we've helped a range of countries with that trust fund, EITI MTDF as we call it. It's currently being replenished, so we hope that there will be more finances to help new candidates like Suriname. So now, I think just to continue to set the scene and to introduce the next speakers, I'll talk a little bit about our experience with the different stakeholders. So I think you've understood this philosophy of bringing together the government, industry, civil society. They all have crucial and equivalent roles, but different ones. So I'll just mention some of those different aspects. The MSG itself will have challenges. I think it's important to recognize that. It was also mentioned before. It doesn't always come easily to talk from different angles and perspectives, and so we've seen a variety of challenges, including sporadic meetings or low attendance, frequent reshuffling, difficulties in reaching consensus, etc. But that's the very nature of a dialogue, right? So you will find plenty of guidance from and experience from other countries. I saw that in the book, in the packet that you got here. You will see some guidance on how to create this MSG and what are the best practices in terms of formatting it. So it's again, it's the very nature of a dialogue, but the success of the MSG will determine the success of the whole initiative. So to talk a little bit about the government group of stakeholders, I think it's important to realize they have a leadership role from the origin, in the sense that they will apply formally on behalf of the country to the initiative. So, and that is formalized initially by a public statement we've heard today, of course, and also before in Lima. The government also appoints a champion, so there's a natural leadership role in the beginning. But also during implementation, of course, the government will have to motivate and sometimes mobilize all the different institutions within the government, all the administration, so that they indeed contribute and disclose the information. And sometimes a lot of the recommendations that will come out of the EITI process will be addressed to the government. So the government has also a role in sort of addressing the recommendations. I'll just emphasize something that is relevant for Suriname as well, because as part of that group is the question of the state-owned companies. So here, Stasoli or Grasalco, of course. So you will have to discuss that and to decide what role is reserved to them. Usually it's part of the government constituency, but it's not. It can be customized as well. But it's very important to take very much care about SOEs, because of course they sometimes collect on behalf of the state. They sometimes pay to the revenues or payments to the government. Sometimes there are subsidies, hidden or not. So that is a big area of usually of demand for the citizens for transparency. So that's a little bit about a picture about government. On companies, I think one thing I'd like to emphasize is that some of the international companies will be already sort of familiar with the EITI concept and will see the benefit from a corporate point of view in terms of risk management, social license to operate, or improving trust, as was mentioned. But of course, it's a little different when it comes to the local companies. Sometimes they're not so familiar, so there's a lot of mobilization to make. And there will be concrete challenges in terms of getting their buy-in. Sometimes they have confidentiality issues, so they can't actually share some data. So they, in some countries, they need to get a waiver to actually be able to participate. Also, in some countries, the EITI is purely voluntary. So, of course, a company can decide not to participate. Some countries have decided to make it mandatory as well. So, but also it will all depend on how it's developed in Suriname. I want to talk a little bit about artisanal and small-scale mining, because of course it's going to be a critical dimension of the producers' involvement in Suriname. It's both a very important dimension, because everybody wants to know what is happening in this subsector, but it's of course very difficult because it's mainly informal. So by nature, it's hard to collect information. So the MSG will have to discuss, and with in relationship with the whole wider community, how can we gradually improve transparency in that sector, both being willing to make progress, but also very realistic in terms of what's demanded. So when it comes to civil society, I will say this is absolutely crucial again. In many countries, the whole credibility of the initiative relies on how much the civil society is able to challenge a little bit the numbers that are in the reports or the statements from either governments or companies. So we can't emphasize enough, I think, the role of civil society in this initiative. They will usually also have a role in terms of disseminating the information and making the wider public aware of all the data, and following up on some of the recommendations. So a key aspect is the training of those organizations. Sometimes there can be workshops or south-south exchanges to really strengthen the way the civil society will take its role in the initiative. And I want to also talk briefly about the financial and technical partners like us, but there are other, I'm sure, in the room from either IDB or UNDP. So if we have a role in assisting the initiative, it's very important that we're providing assistance in line with the national work plan. So usually the work plan that will be approved by the MSG will be the main vehicle also for donor coordination, so that that donor will provide financing for that part, and that other donor will be co-financing, etc. So we're not always very good at coordinating ourselves, so the work plan is a very good tool to make that happen. So just to finish, I will say that we at the World Bank, we do see very much the opportunity for Suriname to through the EITI to catalyze some dialogue, and given the country's dependency on mining and oil, and given the current fiscal crisis, I think there's a huge demand for transparency and for gradually improved management of the sector. So we're really very happy to support the application of Suriname. Thank you very much.